Hard for me to tell how these lights are doing for me, but we'll see. And I will also note that in honor of the Denver Broncos, currently, as I'm talking, playing for the AFC Championship, I'm wearing my Kansas City Chiefs t-shirt, one of them. I've been a Chiefs fan since before there were Chiefs. Because at the ripe old age of 4, I became a fan of the Dallas Texans. When they moved to Kansas City, so did I. Not physically, but, as far as my fandom. Anywho, this channel is about ways to more enjoy your life. Now, what I've done thus far has primarily been related to music. It's been talking about the use of the bass in jazz and the different fiddle styles in bluegrass. And now, in the intro video to this channel, I mentioned that while I like pretty much all kinds of music, most modern music doesn't exactly trick my trigger. Although I do like a little Bruno Mars now and then. Well, now I'm not going to include the video here, but I am going to include a link in the description because the other day I was looking, and I wasn't looking for music. I was looking for dance. And a lot of men would say, "Sissy, I like a little ballet once in a while, but I prefer modern dance for most things. I'm not an interpretive dance type, but modern dance I kind of like." As a teacher, I was at a basketball game, and one of the cheerleaders that was in one of my classes, they were going to do the Macarena at halftime. And she came up to me and, "Mr. Wagner, why don't you come out and do the Macarena with us?" I like dance. I'm not good at it, but I like it. And what I told her was, because if I came out there, it would no longer be the Macarena. It would be the mockery. It's just that simple. I'm not a guy, I know it does this kind of stuff, but I was never really learned to do the Macarena, never really wanted to learn. I like watching other people do it. I had a niece that was a killer in Macarena, or whatever you want to call it. Actually my wife's niece, but that's beside the point. But I like to watch modern dance. I used to love Soul Train. The way those people danced. I used to love Bandstand, American Bandstand, Dick Clark. Because the way those people danced, I like to watch that. I'm not good at it, but I like to watch it. Well, I have already mentioned, of course, having been a teacher, which I only spent a year teaching high school. I spent 21 years tutoring college. And tutoring is different than teaching, I will admit. But one thing with me about learning is that people learn when it's fun. I have seen too many teachers and too many tutors that take the subject matter way too seriously. Now, it's one thing if you're in a chemistry lab and you're mixing chemicals that in the right proportions are going to make a great fertilizer for your lawn. In the wrong proportions are going to make a huge crater where the houses on your block used to be. Then maybe it's time to be a little serious. That's a little serious. Once I'm sure that I've got the fertilizer, that I didn't mess it up, don't think for a minute that I'm not going to go kaboom just to see if somebody jumps. This is just my kind of mischief. This is just my kind of fun. I remember one time when I was teaching at the high school level. In fact, I believe we had the homecoming game that night. I had a class, financial literacy, that had the entire freshman class in it. All 22 of them, a small school. The end of class, they were all, getting their backpacks ready to go and stuff to go on to their next class. And I said, due to circumstances beyond my control, well, it couldn't have been the homecoming game. I was there for that. But it was a game I wasn't going to be able to be there for. I said, due to circumstances beyond my control, I can't make the game tonight. So here's what I want. I know this freshman class is the loudest class in this high school. Give me a nice loud "Go Coyotes" before you leave. Boy, did I get a nice loud "Go Coyotes." In fact, I think I was halfway through the next class before I could hear again. But later that afternoon, I had a class, Business Essentials, with some 7th graders. They came in and told me that in the ensuing hours after my financial literacy class, I had become a legend. Why? Because as it happened, right at the time that my freshmen yelled "Go Coyotes" to the extent that it shook the building, the superintendent of schools was walking right past my classroom out in the hallway. And kids thought that was hilarious. Well, this is part of teaching, having fun learning. I would get games for the kids to play that would teach them things like financial football and Trivial Pursuit, my own created at home business version. But you make learning fun. You're not afraid to joke about it a little bit. Tell when I was tutoring, it wasn't uncommon for me to be talking to a student and say, well, what it comes down to is the normal balances of the accounts. And yes, I did just use the word normal and accounting in the same sentence. Which, of course, will always get at least a little bit of a snicker, because I didn't see anything normal about accounting either. But you make learning fun. Well, I was looking for a video of dance. I found one that I really liked. It was dancers from old black and white movies. But somebody had done some serious editing and set these people where they were dancing to Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk. I loved it. It's on YouTube. You can find it. I'm not putting the link for this one because it's not as good as what I came to next. I finished that. I went back to my feed, and the first thing to come up was a bunch of teachers, looked like probably at a halftime of a basketball game. They called it a flash mob. Watching it, I could tell it was well rehearsed. It was not a flash mob. But these teachers were out there. First one group, then they added to it, then they added some more to it, doing Uptown Funk. There was one male teacher, quite a bit younger than me, but built about like me, who was doing the thing on their belly across the floor in the latter part of it. Just hilarious and fun. And the kids were loving it, the parents were loving it, the spectators that weren't parents were loving it. The community supporters. The administrators, whoever was there, they were digging it. That's the one I'm putting the link to, because you should see that, because it shows you two things about enjoying life. First of all, dance. Watching them dance is fun. Second of all, that learning should be fun. Have some fun when you're learning. Don't just sit there and study the thing. Look for the humor in it. Look for the stuff that doesn't sound quite right the way it is, but that's the way it is. Look for the ways to enjoy what you learn. And we'll see. Had a couple of music, did one that's just kind of music but is dance too. And primarily it was because of dance that we did this one. I did do Mondegreen, which is part dance, part humor. We may get back to some humor. We may go to some drama. You never know what I'm going to do on here. But I can promise you one thing. If you'll just listen to me, and if you'll just kind of follow the instructions, and learn to take in what's around you, especially music, art, drama, dance, literature, sports, since I already mentioned being a Chiefs fan and that the Broncos are playing for the AFC Championship right now. That's okay. I'm actually rooting for the Broncos. I really dislike the Patriots. Be that as it may. Learn to take in the things that can give you pleasure in life. Learn to enjoy them and learn to let them teach you. You can learn from all